Hello, my name is Aditya Sridhar, and I go to Stoller Middle School. Now, you might be wondering, hey, why are you doing this? And to that, I would say, oh, how did you like your grade to be a 2? Anyways, today's topic is climate change? Well, that's an interesting topic, to be honest. I've never experienced climate change personally, so haha, video over now. Goodbye. Okay, but for real though, I could say a few things about climate change, and it has sort of affected my life, but not as, some of the other stories out there where people literally die of flooding. So, without further ado, let's go. Climate change is a problem where greenhouse gases get released in the air. These molecules act as a greenhouse to the earth, and the greenhouse gases are pretty bad if you don't want the end of the human race. My personal experiences basically come down to, oh no, stuff happened where instead of my entire city got submerged under a 50-foot tsunami wave. So these stories aren't actually more serious. These are more funny stories. So if you expect some, oh no, my family died in a tsunami accident, you came to the wrong place. So this one time I was just outside, like outside, and doing what a second grader would do, color. Now, I still color, but I use oil pastels and markers, and this is the exact reason why. So, hold on. It's a pretty common story. So, while I was coloring, my mom called me in for lunch. So, my mind basically said, oh yeah, lunch is pretty cool. Oh yeah, nothing could ever happen to these crayons. Like, no dog would come eat them. Like, yeah, nothing. So, I went inside, I ate the lunch. It was actually pretty nice. But then something happened that was super out of the ordinary. The crayons melted. Now, you might be wondering, why did you include this in a climate change story? Yeah, it's a pretty good story, but this is not a climate change story. Well, let me just tell you this. These markers were Crayola, and Crayola markers have a softening point at over 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and they melt at 140. Half of them melted. When I mean melted, I mean it literally almost turned into mac and cheese. Like, the pictures outside, I can actually take a picture and show you. They're still there. It's just why? Like, how did it melt in that fast of a time? Like, I promise you, it was only like 5 minutes, 5 minutes at tops. And guess what? It melted. Another time is the heat stroke. Now, you probably all remember this, but this was the period between June 9th and July 11th, and it went something like this: 106 degrees Fahrenheit, 109 degrees Fahrenheit, and 114 degrees Fahrenheit. It was so hot, I decided to test out how hot it was. So I put an ice cube on the porch. It melted to water in 60 seconds. 60 seconds. The trees are still recovering, and I can actually just take a picture and show you all. But how does this affect me? Well, nothing really. I'm actually pretty used to this. I mean, the normal temperature in India is around 32 to 38 degrees Celsius, or basically around 70 or 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's on a cold summer day. On a hot summer day, however, it can go up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but I always have this gut feeling, this heart feeling, that every single summer it's gonna break new boundaries. A snowless winter. Like, that's the feeling about what climate change is going to become. This is a serious problem. If we don't stop it soon, it's going to turn out pretty devastating. And now the final question is this: what do I want for the future? Well, like almost everyone here, I want to use renewable energy, but you have to really think about this. You have to think about countries, and about countries, I'm a bit shaky on that. So, if we all switch to renewable, the trade would collapse. A lot of countries are oil republics. That means they rely on oil as their main export. So the people in those countries will become poor, and as we've experienced many, many times, a revolt will happen. Now you can get three errors with the revolt: the good, the bad, and now you have to get out. Now, when a revolt happens, governments change. And if governments change, some really bad things can happen to that government. Like, for example, let's just take Afghanistan. That government had a really good one, and now it's replaced with the Taliban, which is persecuting women's rights and making them follow the laws of the Sharia, which they have completely misinterpreted. So, anyways, that is the problem. People will revolt. And if oil and gas trades slow down, if natural resources and if fossil fuels slow down, then the entire world will collapse. And I'm just not talking about Africa. I'm talking about Asia, Europe, and even America. All these areas will just collapse like they were made out of dominoes. Because oil is a really important thing. Gases are a really important thing. These things are strong sources of energy. You can't just expect an entire government, an entire country the size of India, China, United States, heck, even Sudan. You can't expect that country to just immediately shift to renewable energy sources. It's a slow process and it's needed. But if we do this too fast or if we do this too slow, bad things are going to happen. So I consider we have to take account for our future and make sure that we don't break anything and we do this neatly. Thank you for listening to me basically rant about countries, oil, and climate change. Thank you so much, and this is Aditya. Goodbye.